problem of water supply, access to good sanitation, alongside poor or non-existent drainage infrastructure in the city of Lusaka represents considerable challenges for the population, particularly in the peri-urban area, characterized mostly by informal settlements which have grown in recent years. These unplanned areas, which shelter thousands of residents, have mostly unpaved roads, few or no basic amenities such as water and electricity, and due to poor drainage are prone to floods in the rainy season. These constraints lead to waterborne and water-related diseases, representing a huge setback for social and economic development in the areas and the city at large. Being one of the fastest-growing cities in sub-Saharan Africa, it was therefore imperative that water, sanitation and drainage in Lusaka were subject to reform in order to meet present and future demands given the increase in the population. With this background, the Millennium Challenge Corporation launched the Lusaka Water Supply, Sanitation and Drainage Project through the Millennium Challenge account Zambia in 2012. MCA Zambia was established under the laws of Zambia as a company limited by guarantee, designated by the government of the Republic of Zambia as the accountable entity to implement the Lusaka Water Supply, Sanitation and Drainage Project. This was funded by the United States of America, acting through the Millennium Challenge Corporation. The compact agreement between MCC and GRZ was signed on May 10, 2012. The signing of the Millennium Challenge Compact set forth the terms and conditions upon which the MCC provided funding not exceeding $355 million to the government for the Millennium Challenge Account Program assistance to advance economic growth and reduce poverty in Zambia. The target was Lusaka City. With a population of over 2 million people, the city was struggling with major challenges in water supply, sanitation, and drainage.
Ise chamene tifuna ni manzi kuti bweresera. So palino nthawe tilibe manzi. Yenango matapu bali na manzi wenango balibe. Mwamene nilibe nabane balibe titapa chapepa banzatu. Mwaona so ni problem. Koma chichetekero ine nyili nacho poika mipaipi nishi baziba kuti manzi bazatipasa. Tifunika kukhulupirira pamene batikira bija bintu kuti manzi yazabwera.
Before tabalapange drainage mfulanga yaloka then chaisula chi drainage elo pakati paya twakweteka bridge akamaplanga so amakastoma bamo baletino kwisa mkushita madrink pamulando wa menshi so ebwafyo twakweteka.
In order to identify some of the key areas that needed infrastructure development to improve clean water supply, sanitation and stormwater management, master plans were developed. These master plans outline all major areas in the water supply, sanitation and drainage sectors that need investment and development for the entire city of Lusaka. Thus, from these master plans, the MCC Zambia Compact identified critical areas that needed investment and development to lead to subsequent poverty reduction, improved health, economic growth and expanded access to clean water and sanitation.
When actually the proposal was approved by the Millennium Challenge Corporation, we did further studies now to document exactly what are the problems in the water supply, sanitation and drainage sector. And really just through the investment master plans that were done with the support of MCC, we were able to determine the magnitude of the investment that is required in the sector, clearly demonstrating that very little has been done in the sector. When you look at the figures over a 25-year period, up to 2035, then when we did those, about $4 billion is required to be invested in the water sanitation and drainage sector. And for the drainage component, we only looked at the priority flood-prone areas, and we didn't focus at the entire drainage sector. So you can imagine how much is required to bring about better access to water and sanitation in Lusaka itself. It's not even the entire country, it's the city of Lusaka.
Several residential and trading areas were identified as beneficiaries of the $355 million grant. The improvement of service delivery to these areas by Lusaka Water and Sewerage Company and the Lusaka City Council would require major infrastructure works. For the first time in many years, the city of Lusaka was poised to be a haven of infrastructural activities. Areas like Mutendere were to receive an expanded water supply network and a new sewer network. The area was not only picked because it lacked these services, but because it lies on an aquifer from which Lusaka Water and Sewerage Company draws water. In order to save this water from contamination due to the many pit latrines in the area, the new sewer network was inevitable.
The first 6 contracts or construction packages were water and sanitation. And then there was CP7 and 8 as well as CP10, which were drainage projects, in total almost 24 kilometers of stormwater channel.
The contract to rehabilitate Iolanda treatment plant in Kafue, 10 distribution centers and installation of new pumps and water supply pipeline was awarded on 3 December 2015 and was worth $45.953 million. The contractor was Denise. The works done under these contract packages include rehabilitation of intake structure, rehabilitation of chemical house, rehabilitation of sedimentary tanks, sand filters, pump house and administration buildings, replacement of pumps, replacement of switchgear, all done at the Iolanda treatment plant. The aim was to extend the life of the plant by 30 years. Other works included rehabilitation of 10 distribution centers through repair of leaking reservoirs, replacement of pumps, introducing telemetry systems, rehabilitation of buildings and work area, installation of disinfection units, among others. At the end of the works, the goal was to restore the design capacity of the Iolanda water treatment plant to produce 110 million liters per day or 110,000 cubic meters per day. The water that is produced and pumped from Iolanda water treatment plant is distributed to various consumers through a number of distribution centers. The intention of the Lusaka Water Supply Sanitation and Drainage Project was for the distribution centers to reduce water losses and improve efficiency of the pumping equipment. The distribution centers, namely Chawama, Stewart Park East and West, High Court, Mass Media, Lumumba, Waterworks 1 and 2, and 7C, were rehabilitated with new pumps and in some cases new reservoirs installed. In addition, this project was aimed at improving the capacity for Lusaka Water and Sewerage Company, the utility, to distribute the volumes of water required to meet projected increased demand. The works involved the laying of pipelines. About 16 kilometers of pipe network was installed under this contract.
are at Iolanda Water Treatment Plant, constructed in 1970, and a very strategic facility in terms of water supply to Lusaka City. This plant alone accounts for about 45% of the supply into the city. And during these works, I think the city got to appreciate just how strategic it is, because we had to shut it down for a number of times to do our work. The work is substantially complete. We've changed pumps, we've done repairs on the civil works, we've rehabilitated the administrative block and a number of other ancillary facilities that support the plant. This should give it easily another 25 years of service, and then the utility itself now can go on to do other projects with the confidence that Iolanda is good, with good maintenance for another 25 years. This was under CP1, and Millennium Challenge account was executing 9 CPs. CP1 was Iolanda and the recipient infrastructure within the city, the reservoirs, the distribution centers that distribute this water to about half the number of townships within Lusaka. We also had CP2 being executed by the same contractor that was doing CP1, which was just over 15 kilometers of large diameter steel pipes, up to 900 millimeters in size. That was also meant to enhance the utilities' capacity to distribute water within the city. New projects will come on, bringing in more water, and we've built additional capacity for the utility to distribute that water within the city.
You know, this is the single major source of water supply for Lusaka, and this plant is very critical actually to the operations of Lusaka Water and Sewerage Company. So really this plant provides, I think gives about, supplies about, is it 43% of the total water supply for the city. So anything that goes wrong with this plant really affects the water supply in Lusaka. Also in terms of the quality of water that we produce from here. The quality of water we produce from here is actually meets international and the WHO guidelines. There is a great improvement in terms of outlook and even in terms of the efficiency, because at least we have seen an improvement in terms of our water production, I think from the time that the plant actually was rehabilitated. Even in terms of the technology that we have received, I think on the new equipment, there's actually an upgrade in terms of technology. I mean, touchscreen technology, which we didn't see, which we didn't have before. We have it right now. Operators are able to operate and able to look at what they are doing actually in the plant. I think that the challenges that maybe we may face ahead of us is to sustain the maintenance of this plant, okay? Because I think if you look around, you see that there's an improvement in terms of the outlook of the plant. We need to maintain it. There's an improvement even in terms of the way we're doing our operations. So the challenge is to sustain that arrangement of, you know, the improved, you know, systems that have been put up in place. Water is life. I mean, you can't live, you can't survive without water.
This is Charleston Ground Reservoir. We are getting away from using this tank because it is in an old state and it cannot hold any more water. It has a lot of cracks and it was leaking a lot. So we thought constructing a new one would be an ideal for this area.
Contract packages for water supply, sanitation, and reduction of water losses were another important package. Under the first contract, works involved the installation of about 82 kilometers of sewer network in Mtendere and 60.2 kilometers of water supply lines. Another 14.4 kilometers of water supply lines was installed in Kamanga. The construction work also included the upgrading of 5 sewer interceptors at Salama Park. The Charleston Sewer Pump Station was also rehabilitated. All these works were carried out at a cost of about $22.4 million. Once completed, over 155,000 residents in Mtendere and Kamanga are expected to directly benefit from the investments. The interventions in Mtendere will provide sewer connections to 9,600 households and water connections to 6,400 households in Mtendere and Mtendere East. In Kamanga, over 1,000 households will be connected to the water supply network.
CP3 was a water distribution network, almost 80 kilometers, as well as sewer network for area called Mtendere, which is one of the peri-urban areas in Lusaka. But there were also works in Kamanga and Charleston, as well as Salama Park, to work on the sewerage infrastructure.
Ma flushing toilets ni ya bwino kuchia ma Petra tree. Kama Petra tree ayatipasa matenda like cholera, typhoid, vichoka Petra tree. So aya ma flushing toilets yali bwino maningi kuchira ma process yachi inamba kambe inani from loans.
Our toilet is well connected. We have got any challenge. We were told how to use the flushable toilets, and we are following the procedure. Even the Lusaka Water and Sewerage is now rehabilitating water pipes so that we have access to water all the time.
Timvera bwino tikondowera maningi pamene wanatipangira matoilet aya tinakondowera maningi chifukwa yamaoneka bwino kwa paja tenzo vadoti apa manje ngati tankara so tonse chizakankara musha.
The rehabilitation and expansion of Kaunda Square waste stabilization ponds was also completed successfully within the compact timeline. This involved the rehabilitation and expansion of the Kaunda Square waste stabilization ponds located in the eastern part of Lusaka. The ponds were constructed in the late 1970s to treat wastewater for a population of about 18,000. However, with the growth in population over the years and economic development in the city of Lusaka, there was a corresponding increase in wastewater flow to the ponds. Despite the increase in wastewater flow, the design capacity remained the same, thus overloading the system. The works involve the rehabilitation and expansion of the ponds to increase the treatment capacity from 18,000 to 156,000.
I welcome everybody to this special occasion, which is very important for the Lusaka City Council. We are so proud to be part of this, because we've seen how the Millennium Project has changed many lives here in the city.
Winston Churchill once said that the greatest asset any country has is the health of its people. And then I look around and I see this sign that says reducing poverty through economic growth. And without the health of Lusaka's people, it will be difficult to realize economic growth. So I'm very proud to be here today to mark this important milestone in the partnership between the US government through the Millennium Challenge Corporation and the government of Zambia. Untreated sewage spreads illness and disease. These waste stabilization ponds here in Kaunda Square will protect the water supply and improve sanitation.
Today we celebrate an important milestone, the completion of the Kaunda Square waste stabilization ponds. This accomplishment is a clear sign that the MCC Compact is delivering on its promise to improve the lives of the Zambian people. As our ambassador noted, the $355 million investment in Zambia focuses on expanding the supply of clean water, supporting critical sanitation efforts, and reducing flooding.
This investment is therefore a timely intervention that complements the government's efforts to provide better sanitation facilities for the residents of Lusaka. My government therefore recognizes the significance of this intervention in providing the long-term solutions to the challenge of waterborne and water-related diseases which are faced by the people of Lusaka annually, as has been mentioned.
CP4 was the Kaunda Square Ponds. This was the first contract to be concluded. It was also coincidentally the smallest of the contracts. We had a very good contractor there and we were able to finish the work within 2017.
Water reticulation in Ndeke, Kwamwena, SOS Village, Chipata and Ngombe is another success story under the Lusaka Water Supply, Sanitation and Drainage Project, having been completed with water supply now available in the targeted areas. Boreholes in locations with high-quality underwater aquifers have been drilled and over 250 kilometers of water supply network installed. 33 closed kiosks, each with 2 taps, have been built in Chipata and in Ngombe. The project was done at a total cost of $21.9 million. In addition, a concrete reservoir with a capacity of 800 cubic meters in Kwamwena and a 30-meter high elevated concrete reservoir with a 700 cubic meter capacity in Ndeke-Vona Valley has been constructed.
CP5 introduced new infrastructure to 5 areas called SOS East, Chipata Compound, Ngombe, Ndeke-Vona Valley, and Kwamwena. This was almost 300 kilometers of water pipeline with thousands of water meters for Lusaka Water to get additional revenue from the planned areas, and that was the approach that was used under the compact.
The water that we are receiving now, it's treated water, which is very safe for consumption, unlike the one that we use from the borehole. Because I remember at some point we used to have some ailments like stomach diarrhea when we use the underground water that we just drilled ourselves. Then when water and sewerage came on board, we've seen that there's so much difference, because sometimes we could even smell the chlorine, the medication that they put on the water. A lot of people are getting connected because, Minhood actually has over 7,000 households, and a lot of people now really want to get connected. And most of them, like if you just talk of this street, 3/4 are already connected and they are using water and sewerage water. Yeah, because it's safe and it's nice to consume, unlike the underground water. The same Lusaka water, it goes up to the tank because it comes with a lot of pressure, so it goes up to the tank, so we are able to reserve even for other activities. Oh, it's very easy and we enjoy, and I myself with my daughter, I like doing the plates. Yeah, it's because our lives has been made easier, because in the past we'd put water in the dish and then we do the dishes, but now we just turn on the tap like this and be able to consume the water and sewerage water, which is safe and clean.
The water from this hand pump looks clean at the very beginning when you pump it, but after some few minutes it becomes brown. The situation that we have is very bad in that my next door has got a septic tank right 2 meters from here. The area is so contaminated easily by sewer water and so on. What people must understand, this area was not originally designed for residential accommodation. It was actually supposed to be a catchment area for floods of Lusaka because it's the lowest side of Lusaka. But they decided to demarcate into residential. We bought plots without them being serviced. Okay, so therefore it ended up bringing problems. We didn't have any water apart from what we were going to dig. The water table is very low. You dig for about 7 meters, you hit water. And because of the small plots that we have, the number of people that have dug septic tanks and so on, it's very easy to contaminate the area. Wow, we were blessed by the Americans with water. Without that help from the Americans, we're going to be suffering. So they came in and they assisted us very, very much. And we're really thankful for that because some of the residents, their children were falling sick because of the same water. And now we can safely say we have water 24/7, which is clean. A lot has changed. I just open the tap and I have clean water. I don't have to think about what is in the water because it's all treated. So a lot has changed.
Under the second contract, the contractor worked on approximately 207 kilometers of Lusaka Water and Sewage Company water supply infrastructure to replace worn-out portions of the distribution network. 14 district metering areas are being covered at a cost of $29.9 million. at the end of which physical losses incurred by Lusaka Water and Sewerage Company through leakages in the network and other losses will be reduced from the current 48% to 25%. This intervention will result in over 860,000 people in select areas of Lusaka benefiting from the intervention through improved water supply, quality of water, hours of supply, and greater water pressure.
CP6 was the reduction of non-revenue water, and that contract is still going on. All this water being produced, additional capacity, it made sense to reduce the losses within the system and get value for the gains that were made here, and also for any future projects that Lusaka Water would undertake.
Works on the Bombay drainage, also known as the Ngwerere, are progressing well and nearing completion. CMC Di Ravenna was engaged in August 2015 to construct and rehabilitate over 21 kilometers of backbone drainage in the city of Lusaka at a cost of $35 million. For the most part, what is known as the Bombay Drain is mostly a natural drain flowing across the city south to north, but because it was mostly natural or with limited concrete lining, it was unable to efficiently collect storm water, leading to frequent flooding and stagnant waters in many parts of the city. This is expected to reduce once the entire drain is completed.
CP7 and 8, as well as CP10, which were drainage projects, in total almost 24 kilometers of stormwater channel.
Because the water was so many and going inside the houses, and the houses was broken. It was difficult because the children, they falling in the water, they was dying. We are happy to bring us this drainage Bombay. Here we are safe. The bridge is okay. The bridge is okay and we are fine to pass. Now when they put here this drainage Bombay is now okay. People can go, even the children to go to school, it's safe. I'm a mother with 3 children. Yes, I'm very happy because when they are going to school, it's safe.
The tail end of the drain is known as the Maziopa Drain. MCA Zambia engaged Gabriel A.S. Kuto to construct and rehabilitate over 2.6 kilometers of drainage in Maziopa settlement at a cost of $17.2 million. The drain was constructed to avert flooding downstream, which was expected to increase as a result of the rehabilitation of the Bombay drain. The Bombay drain is expected to have increased stormwater flow downstream, thereby reducing flooding in the city and affected areas. However, the increased volume of water would have had the potential of increasing flooding for the residents of Maziopa, as the Maziopa area is located downstream. The Maziopa drain was therefore designed in such a way that stormwater is being channeled into the Ngwerere River, thereby safeguarding the lives and property of the community of Maziopa. The drainage works were officially handed over to the Zambian government on November 2, 2018. MCC Vice President Ms. Jean Hawke and Minister of Local Government Honorable Vincent Mwale officially inaugurated the completed works. Working on this project was not an easy task, as there were many challenges that the contractors faced. For one, the work was done in already built-up places, and this meant little or no space to maneuver machinery. In some cases, especially on the Ngwerere drain, houses and pit latrines were built right on top of the drain. This called for extensive community engagement.
This is their project. This is not about Millennium Challenge. This is about the sustainability of the investment that we are implementing. It means that residents in Mtendere, who've been able to arrest people who are vandalizing the infrastructure, this results from being aware that this is their project. Residents in Maziopa who arrested people who were stealing the palisade fencing, this is coming from a realization that this is their infrastructure. And this kind of activism, this kind of ownership only comes from a very strict and a robust process of constant engagement of community members. Because then they're able to protect the infrastructure, they're able to own the infrastructure, and they become vigilant because they know that these resources belong to the community. What have we seen as well? By engaging civil society organization and by engaging the media, we have seen constant engagement and discussion around the need to invest in water supply, sanitation, and drainage infrastructure. We have brought this subject onto the public platform, onto the public agenda. We are building this agenda for the future. And community members, civil society organizations, government officials, and other stakeholders have now been engaged fully with this project, and they are supporting the cause of what we are doing. The promissory note that was delivered has been realized through this process of engagement. This is what we intended to see from the beginning. This was the promise that we had given. That promise has been realized. If we drove along the Maziopa drain today, Trinity Church 2 years ago would be submerged in water during this time of the rainy season. As of today, it's dry, meaning that we've saved lives. The Mrs. Banda's home or Mr. Sakala's home today is dry, unlike the previous years when their area would be submerged in water, posing a threat to infrastructure as well as to their lives. If you go to Kamwala trading area, the shops would be closed today. But the shops are open and business is ongoing. This is the promise that we gave to our people, and that's a promise that has been delivered. That gives me joy.
Across all the contract packages, the communications sector, in collaboration with the social and gender sector and the environmental and social performance sector, ensured that the project's impact on the community was looked into at all costs. Some members of the community who lost gardens and other businesses or properties because of the works were compensated.
So, pamene inabwera project iyi, tinali kulima ndiyo, kunalima fruits uku, kunali nzimbe, kunali mango. So, tinaona kuti yapa Ngwerere inabwera yativuta maningi. Manzi anali kutingenera m'manyumba. So apa tinaona chani kani yathu yamene tinaona ngati amasuka maningi kuti konzera Ngwerere. Zeni tachoka yapo tinamba kupeza maphunziro atauta kuti tachita bwanji atipasa ndalama zathu zija. Tabwera tapulumuka manje tamangako kuti manyumba uku tabwera futi aniende sawa ku skulu kuja ku skulu nilankhala 1 month pa red roof anipasa certificate so tadziwa zambiri so tinayamba nkhuku tinamba mu May chaka chasira so taziyamba nkhuku tinaona kuti nkhasako ketambo phunzamo bana nilibe mwamuna so bana ninawo bali 5 ophunzira so nikubwera kumanga nyumba iyi so yochokera mu project amene iyi nagulako na plot 2 so naija amene mwaona sandija na mablock amene mwaona kuja so niyochokera mwamene umu na kanyumba kamene akakonsa kamene kanithandiza.
Apart from compensating those affected by the works, the Lusaka Water Supply, Sanitation and Drainage Project ensured that construction works in the different areas in Lusaka was done with the community's safety in mind. MCA Zambia ensured that all contractors adhered to strict health and safety regulations.
As part of the requirements of the compact, the project needed to be approved by the regulatory body from the environmental perspective. That is the Zambia Environmental Management Agency, ZIMA. So in the beginning, we had to make sure that the environmental and social impact assessments and the resettlement action plans, which were developed to assess and manage the risks, environmental and social risks of the project, were approved by the regulator before the project, the actual construction works could start. And then we also made sure that the environmental and social management plans, the actual activities that needed to be mitigated during construction, were incorporated in the bidding documents at procurement level to make sure that the contractors have the relevant information they needed to plan their environmental and social management plans and health and safety management plans, so that they make sure as they construct, the people are safe in the nearby areas, as well as the workers who are doing the actual construction are also safe. It's been a complex process because implementing resettlement in an urban environment is complicated because there's a lot of people, a lot of structures, and so the construction corridor is quite constricted. And so there were a lot of limitations in terms of how construction was to be undertaken. So we had to do a lot of work to make sure that we minimize as much as possible the resettlement impacts. But even with all those efforts, we still could not avoid the resettlement. So we ended up compensating more than 5,000 people. Working in an area which is heavily inhabited, high density, with a lot of children and women, people crossing roads, the construction corridors were quite challenging to manage from the construction side. So we had to make sure that the requirements from the health and safety perspective were followed to minimize accidents, to minimize affecting the public in terms of access to their businesses, access to their homes, because these activities were happening just in the neighborhood of their businesses and their homes. So it was a lot of work to do that, but we managed to achieve that as well.
Women, children, and the vulnerable were not left out in this project. Through a robust social inclusion and gender mainstreaming program across all contract packages, women were given an opportunity to participate on the project, not just as spectators, but as workers employed in different capacities, from general workers to managers. These infrastructure works will benefit more than 1.2 million people and will greatly improve service delivery by the two implementing entities, Lusaka Water and Sewerage Company and Lusaka City Council.
I think this is where the institutional strengthening component has really helped, because our officers at the departmental level and our policymakers have been capacitated to manage the drainage post the compact period. So, and this is where we would like to express our gratitude to the compact for including the institutional strengthening, because it will ensure sustainability of the project, because as an institution now, we are able to manage independently with the knowledge that we have acquired.
The technical assistance has been very valuable in order to improve on the capacity of our members of staff. We're able to build a dedicated team to enhance the management of our assets so that we can derive the maximum value out of it. Also, the issue of non-revenue water, which we hope we'll be able to reduce that The technologies and the products which we are developing have to be gender sensitive. So we want something that is acceptable to the community, affordable and sustainable. We're looking forward to facing the challenge of taking over and operating the infrastructure, but we are confident that with the capacity which we have built, particularly with the involvement of the TAs and the interactions we've had with the different experts, we'll be able to manage the systems.
This has been challenging. I mean, we've been implementing such a massive project in a built-up area, a city of Lusaka, and we face challenges each and every day to do with replacement of utilities. Just dealing with the different people that had to be displaced because you needed the area for the contractor to use as they were constructing. But with the support of government, the various people that we worked with, Ministry of Water Development, the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Local Government, we were able to have all those issues resolved before the contractors went on site. And then obviously we have made people better off than they were when this project started. For all the people that have been displaced, I'm very proud to be associated with that. And also the fact that government was able to let us implement this project in line with the MCC guidelines and policies. There was no interference. We had a lot of support. For me, I'm very happy to be associated with a project that has delivered what it promised from the beginning. And I know when we started implementing the project, there was a lot of skepticism from people saying, how do you spend so many years planning for a project before you start implementing it? The preparation took too long. We started in 2009. Then we had the agreement signed in 2012. And then 2 years later, then that's when we started seeing actual works beginning. So there was a feeling that will this project ever be implemented? But people now can see the results, they can see the works that have been done, and everyone is just very happy with the quality of works and also the compensation that has been provided to the people that were displaced. So I'm very happy to be associated with this project.